Chapter 13. Atlantis. The human beings of Atlantis reached a very high degree in their civilization, similar to that of the Lemurians. During that time, the earth was enveloped by a thick mist, and the human beings were breathing through galls. The Lemurian flying ships and boats propelled with atomic energy were also known in Atlantis. In the beginning of this civilization, sexual relations were only performed with the objective of engendering bodies for the reincarnating souls. The proper day and hour was chosen by the angels, and for this reason childbearing was painless. The human being was living in a paradisiacal state, yet Lucifer and the Lucifers, who are the black magicians from the lunar period, tempted the human being and they mislead him towards the black path. The serpent is the sexual force, and not simply material attraction, as supposed by the Rosicrucians in their monographs of 9th degree. The sexual force has two poles, positive and negative. The positive is the serpent of bronze, which was healing the Israelites in the wilderness. The negative is the tempting serpent of Eden. The work of the Lucifers was a work of black magic. They awoke the passionate fire of humanity with the only purpose of creating proselytes for the Black Lodge, since every demon is a fornicator. The cephalic rachis liquid and the semen are the poles of the sexual energy. The angel has the two poles upwards, towards his head. The common and current human beings and the demons have one pole upward and the other downward. They form the brain with one pole, and they fornicate with the other pole. The kundalini of the angel goes upwards, yet the demon's kundartagwader goes downwards. Jehovah prohibited fornication to man, yet Lucifer seduced him towards it, and Jehovah Elohim commanded the man, saying, "Of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day that thou eatest thereof thou shalt surely die." Genesis 2:16-17. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. For God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. Genesis 3:4-5. The commandment given by Jehovah is white magic. The commandment given by Lucifer is black magic. When the human being delivered himself to the pleasures of the coitus, he lost his occult powers. Thus, the words of Jehovah were accomplished when he said, In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground. For out of it wast thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. Genesis 3:19. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. Genesis 3:16. The violation of any law always brings pain. Childbearing was painless for the women in Lemuria because the child was engendered in the very hour, minute and second which the cosmic laws were favoring for reproduction. Thus, the violation of this law brought pain in childbirth. Nonetheless, in this day and age there is still a remedy for those who resolve to follow the Gnostic matrimony. The Gnostic matrimony returns the human being to paradise. In the Gnostic Church, the Gnostic matrimonies receive the exact day, hour and minute in which they have to engender their children. Thus, there is no pain in childbirth. What is important is to know how to travel in astral body in order to visit the Gnostic temple. I will give these clues later on. The Lemurians did not know death. They knew the exact date and hour of their disincarnation, and so they were digging their own tombs. They were abandoning their own body by will and with a smile on their lips. They also never disappeared from the sight of their relatives because they were clairvoyant. They kept coexisting with the dead because death was simply a passing into a different state. But when the human being lost his powers because of the coitus, then he knew death. Chapter 14. Black Magic of the Atlanteans. The black magicians of the school of Sodom say that black magic does not exist, that it is only a superstition. They say that evil and hateful thoughts which are emitted by evil minds are disintegrated, since the cosmic is pure goodness. Therefore, it cannot serve as an instrument for the forces of evil. The goal of the above noted statement of the black magicians from the school of Sodom is to justify their tenebrous teachings, in order to give them the false appearance of being pure white magic. The cosmic is the whole infinite, and in the cosmos there are many things. As above so below. If a thought which is emitted by an evil one is disintegrated at once, why then is not a bullet disintegrated in the atmosphere? Why does the cosmic serve as an instrument for a bullet which is going to kill a human being who might be an elder or a child? If that concept of the black magicians from the school of Sodom would be true, then the bullet should disintegrate itself at once. Possibly they would argue by saying to me that the bullet is a material body and a thought is not. Yet, this is also not a good explanation, because thought is also matter. Nothing can exist, not even God, without the help of matter. Moreover, every atom is septuple in its constitution. The bullet used as an example is a compound of physical, ethereal, astral, mental, causal, conscientious, and divine atoms. In other words, the bullet is a nucleus of atomic consciousness, which is charged with the waves of hatred from the one who shot it. Why then is the bullet not disintegrated? Why does the cosmic serve as an instrument for the bullet? Why does the cosmic serve as an instrument for the destructive waves of the atomic bomb? Could it be conceivable that the mental waves are inferior to the radioactive waves of the atoms of uranium? Hence, that concept of the black magicians from the school of Sodom serves them only in order to conceal their crimes and to cheat naive people. The only thing they want is to justify themselves as white magicians. Do not covet powers, beloved reader. Powers are born as fruits of our intimate when our soul has been purified. The mental force that we stubbornly use in order to move a piece of paper would be better used in order to dominate our carnal passion, in order to end hatred, in order to dominate our language, in order to defeat selfishness, envy, etc. Let us purify ourselves, since powers will be granted to us through successive purifications. Powers are flowers of the soul and fruits of the intimate. The powers of a Mahatma are the fruit of millenary purifications. The Gnostic disciple receives distinct powers from the White Lodge through the initiatic ordeals. These powers are acquired by the soul, and the intimate seizes them because the intimate is the real human within ourselves. For instance, when the Gnostic wishes a distant friend to come near to him, then he begs his intimate as follows: "My Father, I beg you to bring near to me, name the person, but not as I will, but as you will." If his intimate considers that his petition is just, then the intimate performs the miracle, that is to say, he performs a work of theurgy, and the distant friend arrives. Yet, if the intimate considers that the petition is unjust, then the intimate doest not perform the petition of his soul. This is pure white magic. The black magician proceeds to use his so-called asuncion, or willpower, without taking the will of his intimate into account. "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven," is what the Gnostic says, because the Gnostic only performs the will of his intimate on earth as it is in heaven, in other words, in the superior planes of consciousness. The Gnostic places all of his longings in the hands of his intimate. We prepare our pituitary and pineal glands for clairvoyance by dominating anger and acquiring serenity. We prepare ourselves for the awakening of the inner ear when we always utter words of love and truth. Sexual magic, daily vocalization, and incessant purification take us towards the summits of the high initiation. To not covet powers does not signify that we, the Gnostics, take on a passive attitude, as do the Theosophists. We have to prepare ourselves when practicing sexual magic, when vocalizing, and when we expel all of the rubbish from ourselves. The Gnostics transmute their sexual secretions and patiently await in order to be worthy of receiving their occult powers, that sprout as flowers of the soul when they have already purified themselves. The Gnostics do not covet powers, on the contrary, they prepare themselves in order to acquire them. The preparation of the Gnostic is to purify himself and to practice sexual magic daily. In their temples, the black magicians have established similar ordeals to those of the white magicians. In order to be accepted as candidates for their initiation, the likely candidates are allowed to receive insults, grumbles, to listen to humiliations, and to even receive blows to their person whilst in their festivities. In the 5th monograph of the 9th black degree of the School of Sodom, the disciple receives a parchment after passing the 4 ordeals of earth, water, fire, and air within a temple of black magic. The parchment states the following: "Peace, greetings from the master of the temple. By decree of the high priest, and by all of the guardians who have served and veiled over you, as proof of your perseverance, faith, and desire, and in accordance with what has been manifested in the external chambers, you are allowed to enter into the following sanctum. You will await to be prepared in order to be admitted into the Holy of Holies after 3 days of sanctification and purification. Your name will be 777, your letter will be R, your salutation will be Aum, your book will be the one with the letter M, your jewel will be the green jasper which is in the shape of a scarab, and your hour will be 9. Rest with patience and await the hour, the number, and the sign. This is pure and legitimate black magic. These ordeals are passed by the disciple in the astral plane within a temple of black magic. In the White Lodge, when the Gnostic asks the masters in the astral plane for the 4 ordeals of earth, fire, water, and air, then these ordeals are set by the masters one after the other, as described in our book The Perfect Matrimony, or the Door Entering into Initiation. These ordeals are always occurring with the interruption of many days between each one, and the next ordeal is given only if the student has been triumphant in the previous one. Each triumph of the disciple is celebrated in the Children's Hall with ineffable music and feasts. Each one of the 4 ordeals has its special celebration. The Children's Hall is so named because the disciple is received by the masters who have taken on the shape of children, in order to tell him, "Except ye be converted, and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven." Matthew 18:3. So, there is nothing regarding a letter R, nothing about 777, nothing about jasper jewels, nothing about hours and signs, since all of these are just pure black magic from Atlantis. In the White Lodge, the only thing which is placed on the Gnostic disciple is the small cape of a Chela neophyte, which he has to ask for. After having passed the ordeal of air, the black magician receives a jewel with 2 intertwined rings, which is what becomes the sign of his triumph. The white magician receives a symbolic ring which represents the ray to which he belongs. To the ring of the black magician reminds him that he was hung from 2 rings over an abyss. The masters of the black temple dress in white tunics. The veiled prophets wear black veils, the stole-bearers wear gray-colored stoles, the scribes wear blue, the astrologers wear blue and white, the mystics wear yellow, and the doctors wear a reddish-gray-colored stole. The temple remains in obscurity. The disciple of 9th black degree is admonished with the following words: "The living soul, who traverses this horrendous path in loneliness, without vacillations or shyness, will be illuminated by the glorious mysteries, after the purifications by earth, fire, water, and air." Afterwards, the black disciple advances towards the guardians of death. In the ordeal of fire, a guardian says to the black disciple the following: "If you wish to arrive next to the master, you must pass through this door. In order to reach this door, you must pass through this hail." In order to pass through this hail, you must walk over these beams of fire. So come if you search for the Master. Then the disciple says, Go ahead.